Every time you open MillMage or create a new project, you'll be greeted by the Project Setup window. That's because MillMage needs to know certain information about your project in order to function. These parameters include stock dimensions and thickness, project origin, 0 point, and several other important settings. You can choose to reopen an existing project, which will automatically apply its project settings, or go through the project wizard and define the parameters again. If you close out of the project setup without saving the parameters, MillMage will close, after first giving you a warning message. By default, the display is in beginner setup mode and guides you through each portion of the project setup. You can switch to advanced setup mode by clicking on the button at the bottom. Advanced setup displays all available project setup options at the same time. You can switch back and forth between the modes at any time by using the button at the bottom of the window. On the first page of the beginner setup, you can select the machine you'll be using for the project. Any device profiles you've previously created are available in the drop-down menu. On the next page, you'll need to select the unit of measurements you'll work in. The options here are millimeters or inches. Next, you need to define your stock, or the material you're using. You'll set the material width and depth, as well as the stock thickness. MillMage sets the workspace bounds to the X and Y dimensions you enter for your material stock. You'll create and arrange your design within the workspace, and they'll output on your material according to their location within the grid. To make sure the project design will fit on your material, the X, Y, and Z measurements must be as accurate as possible. Depending on the size of your material, you can use a set of calipers, a ruler, or a tape measure. On the next two pages, you'll tell MillMage where you're going to set the 0 points for each axis. Defining these 0 points and zeroing your axis later is how you'll tell MillMage and your CNC where to output your design on your material. We'll cover the process of zeroing your axis in a later video. For Z, you can choose whether to zero at the top of your material or the bottom, where it meets your wasteboard. The X and Y 0 points are determined by your project origin selection. You can choose bottom left, top right, top right, or the center. Bottom left or center are the most common choices. The safe clearance height is the height above your stock material at which your tool can travel, without bumping into things like clamps or other work holding equipment. Make sure you set this high enough to not damage your machine by hitting an object. But bear in mind that setting it too high can lead to added job time due to the additional travel required. Next is the fast retraction height. The key difference between the safe clearance and fast retraction height is that fast retraction is used for moves between features within your project. In other words, as it moves between cutting or carving at different locations within your design. This is an optional setting, and you can disable fast retractions. Only enable fast retractions if the inner area of your material is free of work holding equipment. If it is, you can set a lower height than safe clearance height here to cut down on travel time. The final clearance height you need to set is pocket lift. This is the distance to lift your tool when traveling within a single pocket or feature. In other words, if it needs to lift to travel to and carve a different area of a single feature. Once you finalize the settings, your project will be created, and your workspace dimensions will match the size you set for your material. You can go to File, Project Setup, Edit to reopen the setup window and make changes to your project settings. Now you know how to set up your projects in MillMage. In the next video, we'll cover how to create a tool library and add tools to it. Subscribe for more great videos on mastering MillMage.